All right, so in example 3, it says find the zeros of each function. This is really easy. When it says find the zeros, it's the same as finding the x-intercepts. It's the same as finding the solutions. And literally all you do is you set it equal to 0 and you solve. So like this one's already factored. So you set x minus 1 equal to 0 and x plus 2 equal to 0. So you add the 1 and you get 1, and you subtract the 2 and you get negative 2. And those are the zeros. Zeros are another name for the x-intercepts. They are called that because if you plug them back in, check out what happens when you plug in back in 1. So you see you get 0 times 3, which is 0. So that's why they're called zeros, is because when you plug them back in, the solution is 0. Okay, so like on this one, you set it equal to 0, and when we want to solve this, we need to factor it. So we look for a GCF. Anytime this a value is negative, you have to factor out a negative. Okay, it's going to make your life so much easier. It's not only going to factor out a negative, this is all divisible by 2. So let's take out a negative 2. Okay, remember, if you are not great at doing it, if you tend to make mistakes on signs, actually write it out like that. It's really going to help you. So I'm going to divide by negative 2 and I get x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay, so when we're factoring this, I'll make that bigger for you. When we're factoring this, it's a trinomial. So it needs to multiply to 6, that's a times c. It needs to add to 5. That's going to be 1 and 6 or 2 and 3. So 1 and 6 makes 7, so that's why it's not that. So we're going to use 2 and 3. So just like we learned to factor back in chapter 7, let's do this. So we have x squared and plus 6. Okay, remember that x squared goes right here. This plus 6 goes right here. And instead of 5x, we're not using 5x. We're using 2x and 3x. That still makes 5x. So I'm going to put my 2x up here, just like that, and my 3x here. So the GCF of this top row is x. This is 3. This is x, and this is 2. So we have negative 2, we have x plus 3, and x plus 2. So when you set these equal to 0, you get 2 answers on this one. A lot of people will set this equal to 0 right here and get 0, but if this isn't a variable that you pulled out, you don't set it equal to 0. It's just a constant, so it's not causing us to have different zeros. So here we get negative 3 and negative 2. And you can always check them and know you're right by simply plugging negative 3 back in for x, type it in a calculator, it should be 0. Plug negative 2 back in for x, type it in a calculator, it should be 0. So finding 0 is really easy. You guys have done it before. Okay, check out this one. So this one is partially factored. So x minus 1, that's a factor. This x squared minus 16, it factors further. All right, think about what type of factoring. It's a binomial that's subtracting, and you can totally square root that 16. So try to factor that real quick. All right, you just add square root of x squared is x, square root of 16 is 4, and one of them is minus and one of them is plus. So these each equal 0. So on this one, you're going to get 3 solutions. You're going to get 1, 4, and negative 4. So not always 2 solutions, sometimes there's more. All right, check out this one. This one is not factored yet. Always start with, is there a GCF you can take out? So think about what's the GCF of x cubed and x squared? All right, it's going to be x squared. Remember, x cubed is like this, x squared is like this, and they both have 2 x's in common. That's why you're taking out x times x, which is x squared. Also remember, if you aren't great at taking it out, seriously, actually show dividing by x squared. So x cubed divided by x squared is x. X squared divided by x squared is 1, but that minus makes it be negative 1. Okay, this is what you're setting equal to 0. So we're going to have this x squared equals 0 and x minus 1 equals 0. All right, this we just add the 1, easy. On this one, we square root it, and the square root of 0 is 0. So we have those 2 solutions. And that's what it looks like to find the zeros. So remember, when it says find the zeros, you're like, hey, that's the same as the x-intercepts of the solutions. And every time what you do is set it equal to 0, factor it if it's not already factored. So if it's not factored, you've got to factor it, and then set each factor equal to 0 and solve. And how you check it is you can plug them back in, and if you plug 1 back in, it equals 0, and if you plug -2 back in to both x's, it equals 0. So that's how you check it.